If you were watching NAIC over the weekend, then you will have seen this Arceus Regidrago deck piloted by Drake to the Juniors Finals and eventually the Championship. This deck is a lot of fun. I think it's really powerful, and it's even more impressive knowing that Drake put this one together himself. It focuses in on Arceus V-Star and Regidrago V-Star. Arceus allows us to power our Regidragos up through using Trinity Nova for 3 colorless energy. We deal 200 damage, and then search our deck for 3 basic energy and attach them to our V Pokemon in any way we like. And the Starbirth ability is probably the most powerful V-Star power in the game, allowing us to search our deck for any 2 cards and put them into our hand. We're going to be using Arceus to power up Regidrago, which has an incredibly powerful attack, Apex Dragon. For 2 grass and a fire energy, Apex Dragon allows you to copy any attack from a dragon Pokemon in your discard pile. That's any attack. You don't need to have the attack cost, which means that we can be really flexible using different attacks in different matchups. For example, if we're going up against a deck that features lots of 220 HP basic Pokemon, maybe like a Chen Pal or something like that, then Duraludon VMAX might be an attack that we want to use. G-Max Pulverization deals 220 damage and hits through effects, which means you're always going to be knocking out basic V Pokemon. Perhaps we want to deal damage to the bench with Sonic Strike from Garchomp V. For 3 energy on our Regidrago V, we can discard 3 and deal 220 damage to any Pokemon on our opponent's side of the field. Maybe we want to just cleanly knock out a V-Star with Giratina. Lost Impact deals 280 damage, we lost zone 2 energy and take 2 prizes on pretty much any Pokemon in the game. We also have Hisuian Goodra V-Star, very powerful against decks like Lost Box, allowing us to deal 200 damage and then reduce the amount of damage that we take next turn by 80. And finally, Noivern EX, one of the brand new cards from Paldea Evolved. It has 2 very useful attacks that are good against probably the 2 best decks in the format right now. Covert Flight deals 70 damage, which will knock out a Comfey, and stops all basic Pokemon from attacking into your active Pokemon next turn. And Dominating Echo deals 140 damage, and then prevents your opponent from attaching special energies or playing down stadiums. If you get Path to the Peak in play at the right time, then your Dominating Echo can lock out decks like Gardevoir EX from ever playing the game. Now, I really like this deck. I especially like the inclusion of a 2-2-1 Kirlia and Gallade line. 2-2 Kirlia means that you can use Refinement to discard your Dragon-type Pokemon if you need to, or in the late game, you can draw some more cards after you've been Ionoed to a low hand. And finally, Gallade is a very useful Pokemon in the late game to help you search out those supporters like Boss's Orders that you might need to win the game. Ultimately, I think this deck is a lot of fun. I've copied the list down in the description for you. Also, this video was going to come out tonight, but I realized I made a mistake. In a short that I put out a couple of days ago, I thought there were 2 Switch, but there's actually 1 Switch and 1 Super Rod. So I cut the video from last night and did this one instead. So if I've played some more games, I've had some more fun. It's pretty good. If you like it, copy it, see how you go. Otherwise, let's see if we can get some games with Arcdrago. Now, we don't have an ideal start here, Spiritomb, although I will say this much. We are playing against Mew V, so if ever we were going to start with Spiritomb, this is probably the matchup that we'd want to start it. We don't have a great hand, but we are stopping our opponent from being able to use any abilities on their basic Pokemon V. So no Genesect for our opponent. Path to the Peak coming down is a bit of a problem, but that's okay. We can resolve it. Let's throw down our Arceus and a Ralts. If we can find ourselves an out here, this would be brilliant. We've got a heads for a Capturing Aroma flip, which means we can grab ourselves a Noivern if we want to. Although, to be fair, I think, actually, no, this is fine, because we can Ultra Ball for a Kirlia next, or this turn, actually. Let's go for the Kirlia now, I think. Or do we get another Arceus? I think it's probably best to get the Kirlia, right? Let's get a Regidrago. Let's just get another attacker. We need that attacker down on the field. We're just going to assume that our opponent either can't knock out the Spiritomb, or they can't knock out the Spiritomb without removing the Path to the Peak. And I've left myself with a bit of a dud hand. Arceus and Regidrago is a good couple of cards, but only if I have access to Arceus V-Star, or we just get judged. so that's also fine. That's the thing in this current format, it's a little bit easier for you to find the pieces that you need, although in saying that, this hand is similarly garbage. So hopefully we can find something. Spiritomb really keeping us in the game here, I think. That Fettered in Misfortune ability really slowing our opponent down. If they're able to find a Mew and a double Turbo Energy, then that's obviously ideal. But no, they're going to play Escape Rope here. Push that Spiritomb to the bench. They're going to go into their second Mew. Path of the Peak would turn off the abilities anyway, but they can obviously remove them by searching for any card. At this point, they're just going to pass, and we find ourselves an Arceus V-Star off of the top deck, which would normally be incredible, but with Path of the Peak in play, it does nothing. So we stop, and we wait. And this is the game for the moment. Maybe this is not the best exhibit of this particular deck, but you know what? It shows off why Spiritomb is so strong, and I've not seen Spiritomb up against Mew in my own games just yet. Definitely not ideal. Another Escape Rope. Let's give them the Ralts. If they want to take a knockout, they can knock out the Ralts. That's fine. I'm happy to give you the Ralts. It's a little annoying. I mean, you didn't have anything last turn. There are no cards in your hand. What's the worst thing that's going to happen here? You're going to Genesect V. They're going to go searching their deck for a card. Is it a double Turbo Energy? Is it a Mew VMAX? Is it just another supporter? Maybe an Elisa's Sparkle or something like that. Another Judge. Okay, so we're being given a chance here. The fact that the Spiritomb has remained in play is giving us a chance to play the game. Although in saying that, this is not a great hand either. Cramomatic's really bad. It's not so bad when they flip tails. I'm happy with that. We are really showing off the Pokemon TCG right now. Pal Pad and Boss's Orders, these cards are just not ideal. We have a whole bunch of nothing in play at the moment. If we do get an attack off with Regidrago V-Star, we do just flat out win, because we can lock our opponent out from using any special energy here. So I really want to just try and get ourselves into some more cards. We're going to throw the Kirlia down in the active to help us draw. It might be that Pal Pad ends up being the card to go here. I don't really need either of these right now. The Regidrago, though, is pretty good. I do want to keep the Pal Pad, though. Oh, double Turbo Energy plus Research. Two very, very good cards to get. We'll Pal Pad the boss back in, and then play Professor's Research. See if we can't get into an attack. At the moment, no, we won't be doing it, but we can use the Nest Ball to grab ourselves that second Ralts, and we hold the Kirlia and the Gallade in hand for next turn. So, pretty good. We're gonna try and lock down our opponent here. They have two cards in their deck. They've used their V-Star. They can't realistically get too much pressure out of this turn. They can evolve into a Mew VMAX, though. Maybe they can attack. They can play down a Power Tablet, and then they can play Iono. Okay, sure thing. So, we're going to see whether or not that makes too much of a difference for us. We do lose lots of those good cards that we had down to the bottom of the deck, which is a bit disappointing. Here comes a Cramomatic, and if this one's a heads, they'll be going in to grab double Turbo. It's a tails, and I mean, hey, listen, we're not going to see the deck in action, but we are going to see the Fettered in Misfortune Spiritomb in action. This is incredible. Like, I can't believe how long this opponent has been locked down for. Now, actually, we are guaranteed to get into what we need here. Let's discard a Duraludon. We'll see what we can draw. We've got an Iono here, a Professor's Research. We've got the double Turbo. We can use that to retreat now. I like that quite a lot. Maybe we go into the Arceus. We could play down the Regidrago here. I don't mind that. And now we're pretty much just locked up in this game. We can Trinity Nova, and we can kind of set ourselves up for an attack next turn. They can gust down the Regidrago if they have it, but I don't think that they're going to. I certainly can't see it. And even if they do take a knockout, we then Trinity Nova, and they can't draw because of that Spiritomb. So it's as simple as that, realistically. We just need to keep attacking and hope that our opponent doesn't draw into any more supporters. 4 cards in hand for them. They've done effectively nothing for the entire game. They've played Judge a couple of times, and there's a concession. I mean, we will play another game, because we didn't get a chance to actually use the Drago, but that's how strong Spiritomb can be. Game 2, this time we're going to get Regidrago working, and we've opened with Ralts, which is a little bit weird. It's one of those ones where it's like not the ideal starter, but it's definitely not bad, and it can also potentially force our opponent into some misplays if they think that they're playing against Gardevoir EX, which we know they're not. Now, obviously, it's our first turn here, and we want to get an Arceus down, but if we don't find one, then it's going to be a little bit tricky. We could grab the Arceus, or we could actually just grab a Pokemon that we want to discard here. I think Giratina VSTAR seems like a pretty good option. There's probably an argument for our other attackers as well. But right now, I'm thinking we grab ourselves an Arceus. We've got that Arceus down. We've got the energy as well. That's pretty much all you need when you're playing an Arceus deck, is a double turbo energy or a basic energy plus the Arceus. And you're an EA gamer, energy Arceus, and you're gaming. You just need to get yourself going. We'll see what our opponent is playing here with a Battle VIP pass. A Palkia could be any number of... That was not what I was expecting. I was about to say could be any number of things. Could be Chen Pao. Could be Palkia with Gardevoir. I've seen that floating around. I've not seen Palkia with Horsey. I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't seen Palkia with Horsey. So I'm sure that there's some technology that's happening here that I'm not aware of. It's probably Seeking. No, not Seeking. Kingdra. Right? Probably. But what does Kingdra do? I don't even know what Kingdra does. Is this a deck? Am I looking at a deck, or am I... This is very, very strange. I mean, hey, listen. I'm glad that we're playing against this, because it means that we're likely to at least get a couple of turns here. There's another Horsey, a different one. Well, I never. And a Manaphy. We will not be taking down any of our opponent's benched Horsey during this game. I don't know what I'm looking at here, honestly. But that's alright. There's 2 Palkia in play, and I understand that Palkia VSTAR is worth 2 prize cards. So hopefully we are able to get into a decent board state here. They're going to simply rule the region, so nothing much for our opponent to do. And now it is our turn. We find a Regidrago off of the top deck. Would have been nice to have that last turn. We can throw down the Kirlia. There's an argument to playing Path to the Peak, but I think I'm going to just discard it here. Hopefully we get into all the cards that we need. We have an energy, and we also have an Ultra Ball, so I'm a big fan of getting out Arceus now. We could potentially use Kirlia to refine and find some cards, but we could also use the Starbirth ability to search out an attacker that we want to discard and remove it from play. So I'm going to grab the Escape Rope here, and then I think I'm also going to grab out... Let's go for, like, Duraludon, because that'll be able to knock out one of these Palkias in one hit. We can Escape Rope into the Arceus. Doesn't really matter what our opponent chooses to go into here, whether it's one of those Horsies or something else. Manaphy is perfectly fine. We can play down Path to the Peak here, and then we can use Refinement to discard the Duraludon that we just searched out. And this gives us just that little bit more flexibility in our attacker. Now, there's an argument saying, why would you discard the Duraludon when you don't even have the Regidrago V yet? And that's a great question. But we're just going to draw into it. I mean, we've got a Kirlia in play, and our opponent can't do anything about it, as far as I'm aware. So hopefully, we are fine. A Pal Pad coming down is pretty good. We'll see whether or not our opponent can get a KO on this Arceus this turn. And to be brutally honest, I'm not sure that they can. Like, I don't know much about this deck, but it seems like it's going to be pretty reliant on using that Palkia to use Star Portal and set up some energy. So I think we're in a good spot. Looks like they've got 2 energy for the Subspace Swell here, but I mean, we're playing an Arceus deck. It's not necessarily in our best interests to bench a really wide bench, so they're going to be dealing very small amounts of damage. We just top deck the Regidrago. Incredible. We can Refinement away this Spiritomb. It did the job. There's another Regidrago. I don't know what you were all worried about. We just have them all, and we can Trinity Nova here for 50% of that Palkia's damage. We're accepting the fact that they're going to knock us out next turn, but you know what? It doesn't matter. We have 2 Regidragos just about ready to go. Next turn they can take 2 prizes, and then we are going to jump in with our Drago VMAX and start taking some KOs. That's Regidrago VSTAR, not VMAX. Come on, Mitch, get it together, mate. Just pull it together. Pull it together. Anyway, this game is going to be very interesting. I do not know what to expect from either of those Horsey on the bench. So far, we have not seen anything from them. And it just goes to show how strong Palkia is as a Pokemon, that they are hitting for 2 prizes right now, without having set up anything on their bench. So, feeling pretty good if you're them right now, because there's a lot of flexibility, the things that you can kind of work towards to get some KOs down the line. Let's see what we've got. We've got Boss's Orders, which is potentially quite useful. We're going to Refinement first, and I think we're going to get rid of the Arceus here. We don't need that anymore. Iono is pretty good. We could Iono our opponent down to 4 cards, and then knock out this Palkia, and that feels like a pretty good trade for me. I'm happy to do that. We know for a fact that we've got all the things that we need in the discard pile already, and we've just drawn into an absolutely insane hand here. So next turn, we're going to have a very, very strong position. Let's Apex Dragon. We're going to grab G-Max Pulverization, do 220 damage to this Palkia, and take 2 prizes. Next turn, we'll have access to 2 Kirlia and a Buddy Catch Gallade if we want it. And that is pretty gosh darn good. We'll see whether our opponent can come up with a play here. Irida is a card that will be able to find them an attacker this turn. It means that they've got Regidrago covered with a Palkia V-Star. They won't be able to knock it out though. We don't have enough Pokemon in play for that to happen. In fact, I'm not sure that Palkia can ever get to that 280 damage without a little bit of help, maybe. We've seen a lot of Horsey coming onto the bench, I'll say that much. I haven't seen a single evolution of those Horseys just yet. So I don't know what's going on. I cannot tell you what is happening. But I can tell you that our Regidrago V-Stars are powered, they are ready, and hopefully next turn with our Giratina, we will be able to knock out this Palkia V-Star in one hit, which will be very, very nice. We will need to remove that Lake Acuity though. If we don't remove the Lake Acuity, it will reduce the amount of damage that we deal by 20, and that means that we won't take a KO on this Palkia. So we'll see whether we can find it. It's our turn now. We've got double Kirlia and Professor's Research now, so we're looking pretty good. I like this quite a lot. Let's use Capturing Aroma. Hopefully we flip heads and find another evolved Pokemon, which we do. We can grab ourselves a Noivern out of the deck now, and that is the perfect target for a refinement here. We can discard this Noivern, see what we draw. A lot of good cards here, but I am going to evolve into that Gallade. We've got one more, I think? One more Pokemon that is Dragon type in our deck? No, we mustn't. It must be prized, potentially. Let's attach a double Turbo Energy to this Gallade, and then we can play Professor's Research and draw a bunch of new cards. There's that Stadium, so now we should be good to use Apex Dragon. We should probably use Refinement first, though. We'll discard this Arceus, just thin out the cards that we don't need from our deck, and then we should be able to Apex Dragon and take a knockout on this Palkia with Lost Impact. And since we attach the double Turbo Energy, we can Lost Zone that energy as the cost for that attack, take the knockout, and both of our Dragos are still ready to go. All we need to find is our Super Rod or a basic Fire Energy, which we've found. And we have a ready and raring to go Regidrago V-Star in play next turn. Now, with one prize remaining, it is impossible for our opponent to get around our board state. We have Gallade with Buddy Catch, and we have Regidrago V-Star powered up. Now, if we do get knocked out, and we have a basic Fire Energy get shuffled away from our hand, I have no idea what's going on now. A Seal? Are you kidding? What? I mean, hey, listen, even if we were up against a deck that had a more meta gameplay, well, I don't know what's going on, there's a concession. Even if we'd managed to do something against a meta deck, we would have been able to win there anyway. Hey, listen, the deck's a lot of fun. You should try it out. It's down in the description, like I mentioned. Thanks everyone for coming, and I'll see you all next time for more from the Sableyes.